Hey guys, it's Charlie. 45% of the people in the country pay no taxes whatsoever. 43% are happy with the amount of taxes they pay. This is the news being sent out over the mainstream media today, Tax Day 2011. Of course they're not going to talk about the absolutely unbelievable tax cut that the too big to fails got with this wave election dividing the House of Representatives and dividing our Congress, because that wouldn't be expedient. Yet on this same exact day, Tax Day 2011, for the first time in 70 years, S&P has downgraded the outlook for the United States, from a positive outlook to a negative outlook. First time in 70 years. What's their reasoning? Because of the massive debt load we have in this country. Now, the White House came out minutes afterwards and said, well, we're really surprised that they did this because, the Democrats and the Republicans, they're all getting along right now. Paul Ryan's plan on the Republican side and the president's plan on the Democrat side, they're almost in lockstep, and we're going to reduce this deficit. But at the same time, you have Ben Bernanke, chairman of the Federal Reserve, and Timothy Geithner, former New York Federal Reserve President and now Treasury Secretary, issuing veiled threats to Congress to do what? To lower our deficit so America can get its financial house in order? No, exactly the opposite of that. They want to increase the credit card limit, and in fact, they demand we increase the credit card limit, or we're going to have a financial meltdown. S&P, not that a lot of faith should be put into these rating agencies who rated all the derivatives created by the too big to fail, who all got bailed out, who all are the reason we have this ridiculous deficit right now in the first place. But S&P comes out and says exactly the opposite. If you raise the debt ceiling, if you raise the credit card limit, if you go further into deficit, it could tank the economy. So here we are stuck in the middle, playing what? Russian roulette. That's what we're playing. And nobody knows what's going on. You have pundits on one side telling you things are going to be fine. People like Constant Hunter, who is the chief economist for Aladdin and Company, a giant bank that, they can't be wrong because they're an investment firm. So she's out there saying, there's no inflation, even though we've seen the largest increase in the history of the planet in March in fuel prices in this country. But she said there's nothing to worry about because we saw the same thing back in 2008 when oil went to $140 a barrel and the CPI rose by 5.83%. But, in her brilliance, she says that, a destruction of demand caused inflation not to take place. Well, let's look at where we're at now compared to where we were in 2008. Because back then, in 2008, just a few short years ago, our deficit for that year was $500 billion. This year, it's $1.6 trillion. Now, we're going to blame everybody and their brother except for the people who got us here. You see, we have stories coming out about 45% don't pay any taxes, 43% are just happy where they are, and we're taxing the rich too much. When in fact, the exact opposite is true. We gave the rich, the uber rich, not the 100,000, 200,000 a year. I'm talking the too big to fail rich, the doing God's work Lloyd Blankfein rich, the CEO of JP Morgan who gets a 15% pay increase. That kind of rich, they receive a massive tax cut with the extension of the Bush tax cuts. And now we are sitting here in absolute, utter crisis. S&P and the rating agencies on Wall Street on one side saying, cut the deficit or else. You have the pundits on the other side of the argument saying, you better increase the credit card ceiling or else. So we're stuck right in the middle. We are their fodder. We are the ones in the crosshairs. The idea is simple, very simple. Keep us confused, keep us arguing amongst ourselves about whose fault it is, while we implement the largest amount of austerity ever seen on the planet to this country. If you think you're sitting there safe in your 401k, if you think you're sitting there safe in the notion that you're going to have Social Security and your retirement's going to be safe, that you're going to be taken care of, you better start asking yourself some serious questions. Do you trust the people bringing you the information? Do you trust the exact same people who led us down this financial chasm, and they're the ones telling you now we need to either A, go further into debt, or B, radically cut the debt? The answer is simple. We couldn't afford it when we did it, but we don't talk to those issues. Like I said, 2008, $500 billion in deficit. Ridiculous, yes. Some of the largest in history, yes. But you know what? Those are the good old days, because ever since we started bailing out Wall Street, ever since we started making the too big to fail completely and totally systemic, Our deficits have skyrocketed. Have you heard one person in the mainstream media allude to this fact? Have you heard one person in the mainstream media allude to the fact that JP Morgan's CEO had a 15% pay increase? Or that the profits in 2010 was record for these Wall Street firms, only outdone by, or only barely outdoing the 2009 results? You are the target, plain and simple. And I don't care if you voted for Obama, if you voted for McCain, or if you think you're going to get a fair shake with Donald Trump, who now wants to, seize the Libyan fields, or the oil fields in Libya. They're all in the same boat. They're all playing for the same team, and it's not for you. We need to send a clear and distinct message that no more are we going to buy the left-right paradigm. No more are we going to play on the red team or the blue team. We are going to push back, and you will have the same kind of civil unrest here that you see in nations around the world who have nothing left to lose. Unfortunately, we're going to have to get to the point of nothing left to lose before we're willing to stand up, take to the streets, and say enough is enough. Stories are attached. That's all I got.